Hey folks, lack of response here. We are doing another round of the good, the bad, and the weird. Today we are doing something a little odd because we are talking about a knife that I have modified. It is the Strider SNG that I de-autoed and turned it into a regular button lock. Let's sit down and take a close look. Hey folks, this is the Protech Strider SNG. I got the blacked out version. We're going to do some measurements and size comparisons. Then we're going to talk about the good, things I like about it, the bad, things I disliked, and the weird, things that make it interesting, unique, different, enjoyable, things that make it stand out. First, let's start with measurements. We measure about 3 inches of cutting edge. There's a nice big finger trail on there. A little over 8 inches overall. Size comparisons. Why not get that large Sebenza 21 action? Comparable size there. Spyderco Manix. Comparable size and comparable ergos. I like finger trails and handles that get wide at the back. Okay, so size comparisons, thickness-wise, this one is a little thicker than a Spyderco Manix. And as one other comparison for a knife that will show up later in the series, a proper Strider. Here is the SMF, the big one. Let's set you aside. And we are going to talk about the good. I think it's good that Protech worked with Strider to release this. That way, Striders could become much more accessible because they are hard to get your hands on otherwise. They tend to be few and far between at the shops and expensive when they do show up. So it's good that they did that, and it came out in all kinds of different colorways and finishes. The blade, does it tell us what the blade material is? Maybe somewhere? Maybe that says it. What does that say? Let's see if we can figure out what that says. 154 cm. So there we go. It's 154 cm blade with an aluminum handle. And let's zoom back out. Okay. So it's 154 cm blade, aluminum handle. I like the ergos. I like that big wide pommel. It's very comfortable to get a grip on. You can hang back here. You can choke up there. You can get that little pinch grip or pointy grip for fine detail for a little smaller cutting tasks. This was an auto, but I took the spring out, and I like the fact that it still works really well without the spring. You got to give it a little risk because it doesn't have any bearings or washers or anything in there, but it still works with no blade play. So I like the fact that you can take the spring out of it if you want, and it still works just fine. Did I say I like the finish? I do like the finish. I like that kind of matte. It feels almost like you're touching an old chalkboard, which is a weird thing to say, but I really like the feel of that. And I think it looks nice. It holds up well. Protech does a nice job. The bad. You can probably see in there where the finish wears off from the stop pins connecting to it a bunch. Some of that might just be crud. Yeah, some of that's crud. But you can see in there where these stop pins connect, and it's wearing down the finish. That's the only bad, the only real gripe. And the other bad is they never released a straight up button lock version of this. Non-auto. You have to take the spring out yourself. Let me see if I have the Protech knife I want to compare it to. For comparison here, I have the Protech button lock Mordax that we'll talk about in a later video. And this one was made to be a button lock, and it's got a flipper, it's got bearings in it, much better action. They could have put this action on this, on a manual version. They could have even kept the original Strider finger hole, because it's missing that, and I like thumb holes. I like spidey flicking a knife, and this does not spidey flick. Your only option would be to use the button. I've heard similar gripes about the Auto versus Ramlock Microtech stitch, right? The Auto had the thumb hole, but you couldn't use it. You had to use the button. The weird. Well, I don't know if they still make these. It'd be weird if they stopped, because it is so nice. The absence of continued Strider production knives these days strikes me as weird. Simply because they were once upon a time part of the holy trinity of, like, you know, the old school holy trinity of Hinderer, Strider, and Sebenza. That's an XM24. We've seen a video about that. So it seems weird that it's gone. It just dropped off the map almost. And that's weird. But it also could be good for the people who have managed to get their hands on some kind of Strider, because it makes it seem more special. But it's kind of sad, because, well, the younger folks coming into the hobby, something like this would be their only chance to really enjoy a Strider anymore. But yeah, I miss Striders. I wish there were more of them around for people to enjoy, in more varieties to accommodate the button lock folks, the frame lock folks, the thumb hole folks. I want to thank you for tuning in. What do you think about Strider knives? Tell us in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. More to come.